Have you ever heard of the Whispering Wall? Well, this is one real story that people are sharing all over the internet about the Whispering Wall. And I want to share it with you because I think there are some really interesting lessons we can take away from it. So let me set the scene. I was around 18 years old and a college freshman. At the time, I was living in a dorm, and my roommate at the time was a sophomore. Now, she had been living in this dorm for almost a year, and there was one thing that she was particularly afraid of: the Whispering Wall. The Whispering Wall was a concrete pillar near her bed. She said it sounded like a woman whispering secrets throughout the night, and sometimes even calling out her name. One night, she could not take it anymore. She went up to the Whispering Wall and screamed as loud as she could, "Shut up, shut up, shut up." And after that, peace, and never came back. So here's what we know. First off, walls can definitely make some pretty weird sounds, especially if you're living in a building that's older and has some history behind it. There could be a lot of creaking, groaning, you name it. But there's also another possibility here, which is that this wall could have actually been haunted. Now, as a ghost hunter myself, I don't know whether or not this story is true, but I do know that there are ghosts that communicate by whispering, and sometimes they may even whisper your name when they want something from you. That being said, though, there could have been another explanation. This girl may have just been hearing things due to the fact that she was already paranoid. Now, this is a point that I want to bring up because I know a lot of us get lost in our fears, and sometimes those fears can spiral out of control. And in this case, it sounds like this girl was letting her fear of this Whispering Wall consume her thoughts. And so one night, she couldn't take it anymore. She confronted the wall and yelled at it to shut up. In this video, I want to go over 3 reasons why doing this might have actually been a good idea. No. 1. Facing your fears. Whenever we are dealing with any kind of fear, it's best that we face it head on. Now, obviously, I do unrecommend that you scream at walls if you're dealing with a fear like this because most likely nothing's going to happen. But what I am trying to get at is that whenever we're scared, we need to confront our fears instead of letting them consume us. See, when we let our fears control us, they grow larger and larger until they become these monsters in our heads that hold us back from living our lives to the fullest. But when we face our fears, no matter how small of steps they are, those fears begin to shrink until they're no longer keeping us captive. In this situation, I believe that the girl in this story was finally fed up with her fear controlling her. So she decided to face her fear head on, and she confronted the Whispering Wall. By doing this, she took back control of her life and was able to overcome her fear. No. 2. Speaking your truth. Another great lesson that we can learn from this story is to speak our truth no matter what. In this situation, this girl was hearing things and feeling things that she didn't understand. And instead of letting those things keep her up at night and drive her crazy, she decided to speak her truth and scream at the wall. When we speak our truth, we are able to release all of the bottled up emotions that we've been holding on to. And when we do this, we are able to move forward and live our lives more authentically. Speaking our truth is not always easy, however. Many times we feel like we and speak our minds because we're afraid of what others will think of us. Or maybe we feel like we do undeserve to speak our truth. Or maybe we do uneven know what our truth is. But whatever the reason, we need to remember that we have a right to speak our truth, and when we do, we are able to live more authentic and fulfilling lives. If you're struggling to find your voice, know that you're not alone. Many of us have been conditioned to believe that speaking our minds is wrong or bad, and as a result, many of us have silenced ourselves. But the truth is that speaking our truth is a powerful way to break free from the conditioning of our past and live the life that we truly want. No. 3. Setting boundaries. The last lesson that we can learn from this story is to always remember to set boundaries. We need to remember that just because someone or something is bothering us does not mean that we have to put up with it. We always have the option of removing ourselves from the situation and creating healthy boundaries around what we will and will not tolerate in our lives. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It's a necessary part of taking care of ourselves and protecting our own peace of mind. In this situation, the girl in the story had reached her breaking point with the Whispering Wall, and she decided to do something about it. She did not have to sit there and listen to the Whispering Wall any longer. She took matters into her own hands and made it stop. I want you to remember that you always have the power to do the same. If something or someone is bothering you, Do not hesitate to speak up and make it stop. You deserve to live a life that is filled with joy, peace, and happiness. Sometimes that means making some tough decisions and setting some firm boundaries. The moral of this story is that no matter what challenges we may face in life, we always have the ability to overcome them if we're willing to face our fears, speak our truth, and set boundaries. These are 3 powerful lessons that we can take away from this story. Let us take a moment to reflect on each of them and see how we can apply them to our own lives. Facing our fears is something that all of us struggle with at some point in our lives. Whether it's the fear of public speaking, the fear of losing someone we love, or the fear of failure, fear is something that we all experience. However, fear can also be a source of strength if we choose to face it head-on. As the girl in the story did, when we face our fears, we are able to gain control over them. Instead of letting our fears control us, we can use them as motivation to grow and change. For example, if you're afraid of public speaking, instead of avoiding it, you could start by joining a public speaking group. As you begin to speak in front of others, you'll start to gain confidence, and your fear will begin to fade away. Speaking our truth is another important lesson that we can learn from this story. Many times we feel like we cut and speak our minds because we're afraid of what others will think of us. But speaking our truth is an important part of living authentically, and when we do, we are able to live more fulfilling lives. For example, if you've been feeling unhappy in your job, it might be time to start looking for a new one. Or maybe you've been wanting to start your own business. Now's the time to take that leap. Speaking our truth can be difficult, but it's important to remember that we always have a choice. We can choose to speak our truth and live the life that we want, or we can continue to stay silent and let others dictate how we should live. Setting boundaries is the final lesson that we can learn from this story. It's important to remember that just because someone or something is bothering us doesn't mean that we have to put up with it. We always have the option of removing ourselves from the situation and creating healthy boundaries around what we will and will not tolerate in our lives. For example, if you're in a relationship that is making you unhappy, it might be time to end things. Or maybe you have a friend who is always taking advantage of you. It's okay to set some distance. Setting boundaries can be difficult, but it's important to remember that it's not selfish. Taking care of ourselves and protecting our own peace of mind should always come first. These are just a few ways that we can apply the lessons from this story to our own lives. I challenge you to think about other ways that you can do the same. Remember that no matter what challenges we may face in life, we always have the ability to overcome them if we're willing to face our fears, speak our truth, and set boundaries. Now, if you liked this video, I invite you to join me on my journey where we explore the unknown together. On this channel, we discuss all things paranormal, including ghosts, demons, hauntings, cryptids, cults, and more. Would love to have you join me. If you want to support my work, you can do so by following these links here. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.